Alright, howdy howdy. So, I'm not a real huge fan of just watching people click on stuff on their screens on videos, but I couldn't really figure out a good way other than maybe a slideshow of showing some of the stuff that we've done in the past on our little farmstead, homestead, whatever have you. So, I wanted to just show you guys real quick a few pictures and whatnot, and maybe it'd be interesting. Who knows? Probably not. So go to Google's Brandon and Nikki's Homestead. I just looked it up a minute ago. And right here on Permies is our little thread, what have you. And as the fancy interweb brings it up, I'm going to go away. Whee! So, starting out on our thread, first things first is a Ant Village video. This was done by a really awesome dude, and you should click on it. I'll put a link in the description. Anyways, so when we first bought our property, it had been abandoned for like 8 years. Trees were falling. They were about to file. Courthouse was about to charge the folks we were buying it from, and charge them, fine them. That's it. Buddy convinced me to rent a little mini excavator. Great idea. Made short work of a lot of our projects. Nikki's brother made us this fancy chair, which we wound up having to move at some point later on. This was the digging of our hugelkultur bed. We did not do this hugelkultur bed perfectly right. Paul Wheaton would be disappointed, but it worked awesomely. He dug about 5 or 6 feet down, and then we filled it with all the large hardwoods. See, big old trees down there. Ours settled a lot. If I did it again, I would mound the lumber a lot higher, but learning process. So at first I overcasted some seeds, broadcasted some seeds, just different plants, a winter mix, clover, stuff like that, and then let the weeds kind of take over for a while, let it settle, reestablish itself. I just didn't want all the soil to erode away, so I just let what grew grow. What grows grew, something like that. Anyways, there's some ducks working on it. Yeah, Evan's awesome. This is a video that was shot when we were up there in Montana doing our PDC. Pretty great guy. Hugelkultur. And some of these pictures are going to be duplicates. This is after good rain soon thereafter. And I broadcasted rye and clover, some purple taters growing on it. Me being grumpy. Some of the initial beds I put in there, we just kind of walked around the yard and used what we had sticking around. These little stakes are cedar. So these beds are actually still holding up pretty well. Just did some pretty little flowers. It was close to the road, and some garlic and whatnot. Later on I put in some butterfly bushes. This is another hugelkultur bed, and we didn't get any pictures of it being made. And we turned it into a little wildflower bed. This is another bed I put in a little bit later. And it's on contour, to the best as these logs were shaped for it. That one's crazy overgrown now and needs work. So, cabbage? No, collards? Kale, something. So these are some of the first beds I put into. This is around where I knew we were going to put the chicken pen at some point. Just wasn't there yet. Me pretending to work. Getting these beds all planted up. These are Nikki's nieces. They used to come and help us all the time. They're come a little less often now. Buddy built these awesome benches for us. This was back in when we first bought the place. I can't remember the date. Trying them out. They held up pretty darn good. That's a wonderful picture of Nikki. This was all together probably, I think, 2.5 years ago. Not long after we bought the place. We actually made these. This was all before we went to our PDC. There's a hugelkultur bed first mounted up. That's when it first took off growing. See a few little English peas sneaking by. Our first 3 ducks. So that's when we got some baby muscovies. It's a good bit later on. I should just scroll and play music, shouldn't I? So this was working the hugelkultur bed. We let it settle. We grew some crops on it. And we're planting in some. These are pawpaws. I got a little video I actually shot yesterday. Whether or not I posted, I'm not sure because it's grown tremendously. Some blueberries. Another blueberry there. So this is our second round. Different excavators digging the swells. We used a transit level to get those on point. Playing around after it was done. After the first rain, before we got anything planted or anything really. Well, I did throw out some seeds. Clover, crimson clover, I think. The ducks loving on the swells. A good bit later, clover all sprouting up, another good rain. This water hose actually runs through our washing machine, and so we have it dumping straight into the swell, which is about time. It's been ran over a few too many times. This is the swell almost full, and of course when you use the machine it kind of slicks the sides a little bit, so it drained pretty slow. Now it drains a lot faster, so it never gets that full anymore. But it was so cool watching them fill up and level out. Ryegrass coming up, fall coming in, taters. So finally started planting some fruit trees on it. This is our mean old Muscovy here. I'm just kidding, he's awesome. Right here, high school kids came out and we were working on another bed. I think I've got some pictures of it. And they brought the tiller, they're like, we want to till something. And so we did till up a little bit of area. That was my spring garden. Not this year, year before last. Got some fruit trees. These are red buds, which are supposed to be nitrogen fixers. And they grow native in my area. I've got one that's still hanging on, one that croaked on me. Start of a spring garden. Everything took off pretty darn quickly, but we had a real dry season that year, and I didn't have near enough irrigation set up for it. Some of our wildflowers growing on the hugelkultur bed close to the house. Some ladybugs doing things that things do in nature. Pretty little duckies. Nick used to throw them in the back of the car and take them for rides. I know, they're farm animals, etc., etc. Some azaleas in bloom. So after we cleaned the place up a little bit, these azaleas they started to really take off. Got some of their competition down. This is when I was initially planting that hugelkultur bed. So some of these pictures are out of order. We got thornless blackberries, blueberries, the red buds. We planted some cover crop type stuff. These are ladybug eggs. I didn't know what those are. They're on a hibiscus flower. We had to Google it. This is our sort of junk pole fence going into place. And these are all, well, these two are cedars, and this is some other kind of evergreen. But we just cut down these small trees, knocked off the branches, kind of thinned out the woods a little bit. And it works pretty good. It's still standing somehow. I figured it'd last maybe a year and a half, 2, but we're coming up on year number 3, and you can't really see any major deterioration on it. This is the junk pole side of the house here, and we got that idea when we were up in Montana. And the idea is as it rots here, the sticks kind of fall down. We did nail every couple of them and stuff like that, but it's still holding. No major deterioration or issues. This bed, we had these little paving stones as a walkway the previous owners had left. And this right here actually filled up with Mexican sour gherkins. I'm sure some pictures later down. Built a little archway, and I used a green wood, so these little branches are just what was left. And now I got grapes and blackberries. Got some pictures of that too. Radish seeds pods, and this was a little bit later on. You can see that the vegetation started to die. This is the start of our little greenhouse. I'm actually going to be recovering that and posting a video pretty soon, hopefully, of that. Fancy deer stand. Bought it for next to nothing, and it makes a really nice ladder. This is the girls wiring up the panels together. So Nikki with those wonderful bangs, and her friend Brittany helping out. We have a screen door just sitting around. It's got the glass on it and everything like that. And this was when the plastic was just starting to go up. This is the inside. Now I've got most of this covered with wheat cloth, and I've got some plans for this winter to try to put some kind of growing trays, do a vertical thing going on. I've got to seal up these gaps this year a little bit better, but it worked really well for that first season, which was my primary concern. Was I had a bunch of plants that were still too small to kind of withstand winter, and it worked good. Kept things warm. We actually threw some chairs in here during the winter time. We had a little bit of time off, and drank our coffee in there in the morning times. So we also put the ducks in there. So that was a really long video. That's just the first page. I guess I'll do this in a multi-part series. Some of these pictures overlap each other, or the same pictures. I posted some one time, Nikki posted some another time. They kind of overlap each other. But I'll make another one of these. We'll see how it works. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you don't. Subscribe either way. And hopefully we'll produce some more content that's a little bit better later. Thanks.